So I will start by saying hello with two people who are in the audience. Robbie Ryan.
No, Robbie's not here.
Oh, Robbie is not here.
I think he's swimming in the Mediterranean.
I hope he's all right.
Well, he has no clothes on.
Oh, good. I'm leaving. I'm going to.
So,
I'm very interested.
yeah, but we have two. We do have two people from the film.
Yeah, we have Claire Rodgerson.
And we have Claire Rodgerson.
And we have
Trevor
Fox.
Please stand up.
Stand up, guys. They're here. Claire Rodgerson and Trevor Fox. And we have also wonderful people sitting here. We have the producer, Rebecca O'Brien. Here. We have someone on TV with the actress Amna Alali.
Amna is here.
Hi, I don't know if she's moving.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, whoa! She's in the UK, but she's with us. And we have Ebla Mary. We have the wonderful and very moving Dave Turner. We all fell in love with you in the film. We have a wonderful screenwriter, Mr. Paul Laverty. And last but not least, we have the wonderful and great Ken Loach. And I will start with the first question for Ken. Are you ready for your third Palme d'Or?
No, well, there's two answers to that. The first one is, as you expect, the prize is to come and to present the film to the Cannes audience, which is spectacular and very generous. So that's the prize. But also the prize is to be remembered in the Palme Dog, which is a much coveted award, which goes to the best dog in the festival films. I don't think we won this year, but we got an honourable mention, so that's pretty good. Really.
Yes, hello. My name is Emma Dearson from Sweden, Dagens etc. I have a question for Ken and Paul. If you could tell me about, if you could tell me a little bit about the research. I know you do a lot of research before for the films you do. So the research on the struggle between the solidarity within the working community and racism, please.
Well, the origin of the film was having worked in the Northeast for two films. We saw the areas that were most deprived, most neglected, with a strong industrial past, with the solidarity that industrial struggles bring, and yet now left abandoned. And we also saw the refugees from the Syrian war being placed in areas where they would not be seen, and the Northeast, per head of population, had more Syrian refugees than anywhere else in the country. But they had the least in infrastructure, in work, in social services. Why? Why is that? Because the government doesn't want you to know they're there even. So on that basis, Paul and I thought, and Rebecca thought there might be a film here, and then Paul began the research, and Paul created the characters, so over to you, Paul.
Thank you for your question, and it's a great opportunity right at the very beginning to speak. I don't know if you noticed at the end of the film, there's a line, and one of the most important lines right at the end, and we say thank you to all the Syrians who shared their experiences with us, but did not want to give their names because of dangers to their families back, in Syria. So I'd love to take this opportunity to thank the hundreds of people that we spoke to who had the courage to share their lives and give them a remarkable example of having lived so much trauma, unimaginable cruelty in their countries, and to come back and to start their lives and share it with us. It was a tremendous experience to meet them. And in fact, that scene in the cathedral, many of those faces came to mind when those words appeared, when we came to write the script. And so though their experiences were implicit in that, and a massive, massive thank you to those people whose names are not there. And can also just say as well, what an absolute disgrace that the Arab League has welcomed Assad back just last week, back on the international stage, strutting about after homicide, murder and torture in the most unimaginable fashion. So the people who confront him and still do that and can still hold up their head high and find hope, they're quite amazing, amazing people. And for that reason, I'm very, very glad that Amna is here with us. And I'm a big... So all their presence are there with us in the film. And also have to thank the wonderful activists I met in the Northeast who inspired us with creative work, because solidarity is absolutely massively creative and steeped in hope. They have the intelligence to untangle the contradictions, where people's anger and hatred and fury come from, the lack of agency in their lives. And we met some amazing actors, far too many to mention here, but Sarah Bryson of UK, Citizens UK, and Claire, as a member of them, was key in putting me... Claire, oh, there's Claire there, yeah, hi Claire. And I hope you speak to Claire and have a question for her later. But Sarah Bryson put me in contact with some wonderful people in these mining villages who are doing what we see in the film. They realised the Syrians needed help, but they also realised that the local community needed help. So John Barron and Val Barron and the wonderful activists around them were actually a key inspiration for this film.
I've got a question for all the actors, including you guys. The film is about solidarity. Did you feel the same way on the set, on the direction of Ken Loach?
Yeah, I truly did. There was a feeling of family and friendship. I felt so safe, so seen. And our relationship, like me with Dave and Claire, is like the relationship with the characters. So I truly did, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing I can say is that I felt safe, I felt comfortable, I felt reassured. This was a totally new experience for me. So I relied on the people around me to help get through it. And I couldn't have done it without the rest of the cast and the crew. And Rebecca told me, they spend as much time in getting the crew right as they do with the cast. And that's a fact, because every member of the crew did everything they could every day to help me get through it. So this is a massive big thank you to the rest of the cast and the crew. You were all brilliant, and I thank you ever so much from the bottom of my heart.
Amna, maybe? Ooh.
Hello, everyone. It's a very nice to work with such as very beautiful people, such as Ken Loach, Rebecca, and Paul. And all the staff were very, very good people. And very friendly.
Okay. Please stand up. Thank you.
Judith De Silva from Arise News, Nigeria. My question is for Mr. Loach. When studying film, we all know that there's a legacy for great directors, whether it's from David Lean to Ridley Scott to now Christopher Nolan, or it's from Richard Attenborough to Stephen Frears to Sam Mendes, or yourself to Shane Meadows. But by the time it's got into my generation of Western filmmakers, it seems like no one's really measured up. And then this year at Cannes Festival, I saw a film by another director that's going up for the Palme d'Or, Ramata Tulaisi. And she's only made one short film and this feature film, and straight away you can see markers of a Terrence Malick, but she's completely African. So I wonder if do you think that it's possible that your legacy line could continue, but in the hands of a director who inhabits all the essence of Ken Loach, but is completely different from somewhere completely unexpected?
I could not say. I think it's important that people are made by their time. And I began work in the 1960s, and I learned from the theatre of that time. I learned from the politics of that time, the 1960s. I mean, I was here in 1969, I think, after the May events in Paris and other events. And those ideas stay because you learn them when you're young. And also the cinema influences from its Italian New Wave, Italian neorealism, and the French filmmakers of the time, of course, and the Czech filmmakers, particularly for me, and Polish. But we are of our time, and I think filmmakers, writers, directors, actors, producers now have the same concerns, but will make very different films. But the problem is, it's not up to the directors and writers if they can make films. And now the doors are closing on young people who want to engage with the issues of their time with a political understanding other than simply a social understanding. And there's a big difference, as you'll know, I'm sure. Because a political understanding means you challenge those in power. And why should those in power with the money, when their system is failing, support films that are going to challenge them? When I began, their system was pretty secure. So there was space for us to prove we were liberal democracies. Allow them to speak. Not anymore. So I think that's the problem, is the talent is there. You meet so many young activists with the politics, that can they make films? Not allowed. I think that's the problem.
I've got a question for Rebecca. Is it really harder to put this kind of film, even Cairns, on launch?
We've been supported brilliantly by our European friends and partners over the years, and the way we put the films together and finance the films is by putting little bits of money from different places together, so there is no big studio telling us what to do. So it's sort of divide and rule. You take little money from different public funders, like in the UK from the BBC and from the BFI, and then in France we have Why Not, and in Belgium we have Les Films du Fleuve, and each of them give us a little bit here and there. And so actually it's made it really not so difficult. It's not so difficult for us. Partly the other thing is we keep the budget low. We don't expect to, we know that if we make a film in the way that we do and we keep it at a reasonable cost, then we can get it made. If we overstretch our ambition, it makes it much more difficult. So because people have also become, get what they expect from us, they're very generous and they keep us going. So we have been very lucky because we've been doing one after another. Because of this system, because of our European support, we've been able to make more films than many people get a chance to do. And we would rather make more lower budget films than one big film every 5 or 10 years. We have been able to find our voice because we have a lot of support from a lot of different people, and nobody is saying, I'm the big boss, it should be how I want it.
Hi, hello. Beba Blanes from Cadena Ser Radio Spain. It's a question for Mr. Loach and Mr. Laverty. What do you think that left party have to do to transform this hope, the theme of the film, into political issues? And for the actresses, what do you think is important to be part of this beautiful film for your communities and for your own own story? Thank you.
Well, that's a huge question. I think it's the case. There are different instances in different European countries. I think the political situation. Our situation in Britain is that we have a right-wing party in government, the Tory party, and we have a right-wing party in opposition called the Labour Party, and they're very close to each other. You could put a cigarette paper between them, just about. But neither of them will challenge the essential contradictions of the system that will continue to bring inequality, poverty, great wealth on the one hand, deprivation and hunger on the other. The system creates it, and they will leave the system in place. It also leads to wars where they defend their spheres of influence. And our illegal war in Iraq, which should bring shame to those who supported it and instigated it, Tony Blair should be in front of the War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague, not making millions from his lectures. And Bush as well. And that created a huge refugee problem. And that destabilized that region. And the refugees, of course, are a part of that. And yet when the refugees come to us, particularly in Britain, we say, no, the door's closed. We don't want you. And that's the problem. So to make the changes we need a government that gives power to the people in terms of ownership, of services, production, so that we use the world's resources for our mutual benefit, not for big corporations to make profits and declare war around the world by the politicians who act in then for them. So that's a huge change. And building that opposition, spent a lifetime engaged in that in one way or another, as we all have. And so, but I think at the moment, there's such a disillusion with those right-wing politicians. And I know we see it in France, and there's a massive movement against Macron. And we have massive campaigners and organisers against the politics of our country. It's a question of organising it, focusing on a programme, and acting internationally with solidarity. It's a huge task. It's the same, it is an eternal struggle. But now we have an end game, because if we don't do it, then the climate disaster is waiting for us. So for me, I feel very anxious about the possibility of organising that opposition. But you can't give up hope, because if you give up hope, as Paul wrote in the film, you are impotent. You can't do anything. But it's a massive, we can talk about this all day. I think that's the essence of it, is organising a political opposition that will change the economic system, because that's at the heart of everything. That drives everything. It drives the poverty and inequality and great wealth, the yachts in the harbour, and it also drives the wars of intervention and the expansion of NATO, for example, to hem in Russia, so that they inevitably, we know, without supporting Putin, we know what they will do. So I think that's the problem, organising the opposition.
Can I just add just one little, yeah. Obviously, I would endorse all of that. But what we try to do in the film, and I think it's relevant to your question, I think, we've got to pay attention to the Charlies of this world that was brilliantly played by Trevor Fox. You know, it'd been very easy to have brought in, right-wing fascists to beat up the people in this little village. But I think the great challenge on the left now is to listen to people and try and understand and untangle their fury and their anger and their lack of agency in their lives. What fascinated us in this film, going back to the previous question about the research, how did we end up with an 8-hour day from the time of the miners in 1984 to the 12-hour and 14-hour day of Sorry We Missed You tied to a nap? These are all political decisions that have weakened community, weakened solidarity. And so it's struck us, as we talked about this again and again, that there's actually great fury out there, and we have to try and understand it. We can't deny it. We've got to confront, what is there, be transparent about it. And if we don't do that, the right will step in. Because the great problem is there's no political representation for many of these people. Stammer won't answer those problems, and certainly the Tories won't. So people feel angry and frustrated and not being listened to. Then they're called racists when the poorest communities accept immigrants. And I think you see this all around Europe just now. It's happening in your country, in Spain. Vox are sowing hatred and fear. And where there's vulnerability and precariousness, that's where the right step in. And it was remarkable that, in a previous century, there was a whole class then that had no political representation. In 1894, they started out. Keir Hardie invented the Independent Labour Party so that trade unions and working class people would be represented. And the great shame is now Keir Starmer has told his cabinet not to stand in solidarity at the picket line with workers on strike. That shows you how far the lack of representation goes. So I think the left have to engage with those vulnerabilities and fears, and then we have to have a programme that people can support and give them hope.
Good morning, Chaz Ebert, Chicago. In Hollywood, there was a saying, if you want to send a message, if you want to give a message, send a telegram. But now I say, if you want to send a message, let Ken Loach make a movie. I think that your movies show so much compassion and empathy, kindness and forgiveness. The part about the Charlies in the movie, really, really important. I was wondering, over the years, for instance, there were some movies like Thin Blue Line and some other more recent documentaries that have actually provoked a change in some of the laws in America or reopened trials for people who were on trial. Over the years, with you and some of the movies that you and the other kitchen sink directors in Britain made, have you seen any changes from the movies that you've made? Have you seen any changes of hearts or minds or laws or anything?
No, but in a way we wouldn't expect to, really, because, back in the early days, when I was just beginning, I did a film about homelessness, and there was a small change in the law to support families who were homeless. But it was a film that didn't really challenge the system. And I think what we're talking about is a fundamental change in economic power. And I wouldn't expect a film to be able to do that. It goes to the heart of their system. Thanks for your kind words. And I know you will remember the Hollywood films that support the CIA, that present the United States as the defenders of freedom and democracy. And we know that the Hollywood films carry a message, a very clear message. Wealth is good, greed is good, and the United States will come to your aid to support democracy, as they have done throughout South America. As we know, in every country where they intervene, it's on behalf of the dictators and to suppress democratic decisions. So Hollywood has its messages. I think that film is one voice in a chorus, and if we can be a voice in that chorus of popular opposition, then I think that's a high achievement. It's the most we can hope for, but it's okay. It's okay to to be part of a chorus, because we are part of a collective, really. But thanks for your question. It's an important one.
And I think it helped. We had them with our last film. Thank you for your question. We had the most wonderful experience actually in France with Sorry We Missed You. We through Pascal Cousteau and their wonderful distributors, John Labadie. We had the most amazing screening in Paris with 1,000 trade unionists. You know, so like you say, it wasn't a manifesto. But to see 1,000 organisers there watching Sorry We Missed You and recognising that was their lives too was very, very validating. And that's often happened with our films. There were 600 community screenings throughout Great Britain, you know, with I, Daniel Blake. And that really bled into, you know, a fury and an anger that had been hidden under the surface because the welfare legislation is so complex. And also the Tory government had stereotyped people on welfare. So when you heard people coming together and speaking and saying, that is my life up there, this is what my neighbour has gone through. It was very, very validating, and I think it led into that wonderful boost of, that wonderful campaigning with Jeremy Corbyn in 2017, when they became a whisker of winning. So I think it's part of the conversation, it's part of the hinterland, and I think hopefully it helps people.
Hi, I'm here, Veronica from RTV Slovenia. I want to thank you all for making this film, and also we always count on you to make us all teary-eyed, and it happened again. We never go to your films without tissues anymore, so thank you for that. My question is for Mr. Ken Loach. I actually went to the Barry Ackroyd masterclass, and he told a really interesting story how you met over the bridge. On the bridge over the highway. So if you can tell more about this meeting of your longtime cinematographer. Thank you.
Oh, golly. Well, the thing about film, which I think people may not, who are outside the business, don't always understand, is that it's a series of partnerships. It's a series of partnerships in which necessarily, but one person takes the lead. To begin with, it's a partnership with the producer and Paul and me, because on the project, can we make it work? Will it go? Then Paul takes the lead in a partnership with me and Rebecca, but Paul takes the lead in writing a story and characters. Then it's when we make it, it's a partnership with the casting director, Colleen Crawford, who works incredibly hard. I mean, we took a long time to find the right people, because the people who are in the film, who bring the story to life, is the next most important decision to the writing the script. And again, that's a partnership with Colleen Crawford. Partnerships in the making of the film, obviously, with the camera man, in this case Robbie Ryan, and for Barry Ackroyd for many years, wonderful people. The sound recordist, Ray Beckett, the design, Fergus, the whole production team to make it work. And of course with all the actors, each one is a partnership, and partnerships within it, because as Dave said, we all depend on each other. And then with George Fenton, who writes very spare but very wonderful music, with Jonathan Morris, who edits it, with you can see it's partnerships. And in the question of the camera style, it's half is with the cameraman, or more than half is with the cameraman, half with the director who has a plan for how it should look. But you listen to each other, and it's team. So it's a boring answer, because I know people like egocentric individuals who all, do things on their own. Nobody does in a film. And it's why I hate the credit a film by, because it could be a film by Kodak. That's the extent of what a film by could be. Everything else, it's a gang.
I'd like to just add something here, which is that to put together the two communities of the film, the Syrian refugees and the people from the pub and the people in all the different sort of situations, is an incredibly long and complex process. And you know, to find somebody amazing like Amna and to find somebody amazing like Ebla is an incredible piece of research that goes on. We actually, to find, you know, the people who play the Syrian refugees in the film are Syrian refugees. They're not actors. They are actors because they're in the film. But to actually find people who are like Amna, who are willing to expose themselves to something completely alien and unknown, to put themselves in front of an audience like this, is a huge leap. It's an incredibly powerful thing. And I think, so that research, we also, again, taking it out of the community that we are, we got help from people in the Middle East who would recommend actors for us. So it's like we branch out. We got help from Wad Al-Khatib, the young filmmaker, who gave us extraordinary footage from her own experience in Syria, which we use in the film. So it's like a partnership that goes beyond just our team. The research is so important, and it's all of us together.
Yes. Anthony D'Alessandro from Deadline Hollywood back here. Mr. Ken Loach, there's reports that this is your final film. However, it sounds like you still have a lot to say.
One day at a time, really. So if you get up in the morning and you're not in the obituary column, you're doing well. So one day at a time.
Hi, it's Craig at the Daily Telegraph. Probably not a popular paper on that panel.
Oh, we love you. We love you. I love your owners, Mr. Barclay, the Barclay brothers, even more. So if they're listening, a big, big thank you, and get it up you.
I invited this on myself. For Mr. Loach, we've heard about how the film's one about solidarity. We've heard also about the great influence with, you know, the trade unions that he had with Daniel Blake. Did you feel conflicted coming to Cannes, where there's currently a ban on trade unions protesting, and have you reached out to them in any sort of form of solidarity at all?
Yes, we met trade unionists as soon as I arrived, and we're going to meet some more after we've spoken to you and some others. Bans on trade unions are not new. If we refused to speak about every ban on a trade union or every newspaper that peddled anti-union propaganda, we wouldn't be speaking to many people, and you wouldn't be in the audience. So it's not a ban that we can observe if we want to communicate, as you know. But that's the picture as it is. I mean, let's hope we can have a world in which we don't have any bans, because democracy depends on listening to others and depends on information. And that information, untainted information, is very hard to get. We certainly don't get it in Britain. And certainly the BBC that presents itself and is presented as the icon of independent journalism, we know which side they're on, and it's not ours. So let's refuse all bans, and I hope you'll be on the protest against the trade union ban here. Okay?
Hi, hello. So first of all, congratulations to all of you, because it was a great movie. I have a question for you, Dave Turner. So I wanted to know how important was this role for you, what it meant, and how did you prepare for it?
I wish I knew that. Yeah. To be honest, talk about relationships. The first relationship I had was with Mara, the dog. I drove about 1,000 miles over a few months to build up a rapport and a relationship with Mara. So that was a starting point for me. But I think the big word I have to use again is trust. And when you start, you put in this, luckily put in this position, you trust. You know you can trust the people to look after you. And I mean, it was just an honour to go through the whole process and to get to know the crew and the cast. And I never ever thought at this time in my life I would be in this position. You know, I spent 30 years in the fire service, and I thought that was me. When I retired from the fire service, I thought I'm happy with that. So to find myself in this position is beyond surreal for me. It was difficult during the filming process, and by the end, on the last day, the owner of the dog came down to have a spot of lunch with me, and he found me asleep on the grass. I was that absolutely worn out. I couldn't even face lunch. But to go through that with the people that I went through with it, with Ebla, with Claire, with Trevor, and with all the other people that we work with every day, I mean, it was a humbling experience to see people. And then when we started actually filming with the people in the pub, that was great. But then when we started going out to the broader community and we met the Syrian families, and you actually heard the stories, it put any issues I had into total context. The issues that they'd gone through were beyond horrific, beyond anything I had any comprehension or understanding of in my life. So to actually just sit there and listen to what they've gone through, and then what they've gone through when they get here, and the welcome that they didn't get, is absolutely incredible. So I'm extremely proud and honoured to be here. It's been a privilege. And I just hope that people go and see the film with an open mind. Don't go in because you've got this headline in your head. I mean, Ken's mentioned the BBC. I mean, I put Radio 4 on a Thursday morning. The opening headline on the Today programme was, "Is Britain full?" How do you follow that? So go and watch the film with an open mind. Put aside all your preconceived ideas from what you've read in the right-wing media and what you've heard. And just remember that we're all part of the same world. Don't focus on what divides us. Focus on what we have in common. And that's what I think is, I'm taking away from this. I'm a different person than when I started this. I hope I'm a better person, but I'm a better person because of the people I've spent time with. And it's been an absolute honour and a privilege the last year. Really has.
Can I say, I think Claire, who plays Lara in the film, as an activist in the local community, has a particular experience that relates to this. Would it be all right for her to say a word? Thanks.
Do you want to come up here?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. That relates to the preparation for the film. I actually met Paul during the preparation for the film, doing the research because I used to work with young people who were being drawn into the politics of the far right. And it was really important to me working with those young people to untangle their political anger from their outward expressions of racism. So to have that conversation with Paul in the cafe in Sunderland, the city where I'm from, to then be part of telling a story of not just hope, but fight back and solidarity, because hope needs to come with fight. Like Dave, it's just an absolute privilege. And to meet all of you, to meet the Syrian families, and Amna in particular, is a real privilege. And our communities in the northeast of England deserve better. We do, we deserve better. And it isn't just grim up north. There are people struggling every day. There's a woman called Isabel in Horden, one of the places where we filmed, who we met in preparation, and she told us about her 30 years of being a community activist in those streets, chasing away people with machetes, fighting for the young people to have a better future and for them to know that they've got a place of safety to knock on the door and come in. Meeting Isabel was a privilege and a pleasure, and I hope that the character of Laura carries a bit of her spirit with her. So, yeah, I'm just really grateful for the opportunity that you've given us. Thank you.
Je suis désolée, mais on va être obligé d'arrêter. Je suis vraiment navrée. Thanks a lot for all these wonderful words. Thank you so much. Ken has something to say.
One very quick word.
Sorry, one quick word. Yeah, thanks.
Please, please, please.
It's really important, this, for Amna to join us on the television is really important. And the voice of the Syrians in our country is not heard. So if you have time, and if we have time, for Amna to say one word about both her experiences in trying to escape from the war, and what has happened to her in England, it would be so brilliant, because it's such a rare opportunity, and we owe them so much.
No, of course.
Can you spare 30 seconds?
Of course. Are you kidding me?
Yes, sir.
It's for Amna to speak.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. This film tells a story many refugees faced in their community. I will say, Alhamdulillah, for me and all my family didn't face any bad things since we arrived here. But in other places, there are lots of refugees. They face very, very bad things in their life. I would like to say for everyone, please help the people or leave them, because all the refugees around the world, they enforced to leave their countries. They didn't have another choice. And I want to say many thanks for Ken Loach for this amazing film and for the opportunity that you gave to me. Thank you so much for you and for everyone.
Bravo! Well, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen.